Great pleasure joining me here on set. We have House Majority Leader Steve Scalise of Louisiana. He is the sponsor and the quarterback of the House Republicans' Lower Energy Costs Act. Mr. Scalise, welcome back to the show, as always, sir.
Great to be with you, especially in studio, Larry.
Yeah, it's wonderful. Let me, I know what you're doing has to be good because Biden has jumped out at and offered to veto it. I think we have some sound from Press Secretary. Take a listen, please.
The president has also made clear he will veto H.R. 1, another bill that House Republicans have put forward to drive energy costs up for middle-class families, pad the pockets of big oil companies, and endanger the health and safety of all Americans.
All right, I hate to prove a positive with a negative, but there you go. They can't wait to veto this thing. Tell us about it, Steve Scalise. I mean, you mentioned we had this great meeting today at the America First Policy Institute. You mentioned about putting time on the clock, so they have to get these reforms done. Could you elaborate?
Yeah, and Larry, this is a great bill for families who are struggling under the weight of high energy costs, whether it's 40% more that you're paying to get gasoline at the pump. If you're paying 20, 30, 40% more when you pay your household electricity bills, it's because of Joe Biden's radical attack on American energy. You've seen it from day one when he took the oath of office. He went after not all energy, American energy, killed the Keystone Pipeline here in America, but green-lighted Putin's pipeline in Europe, killed lease sales here in America, and then went to Putin and then went to Saudi Arabia begging them to produce oil. What does he have against the cleanest place in the world to produce energy, the United States of America? You want to lower costs, you pass H.R. 1, the Lower Energy Costs Act. And so we have a number of good reforms in this bill, not just to get more American energy production, but as you were talking about, right now, one of the big impediments, you get all of these radical extremists that go to different federal agencies to block any kind of manufacturing projects, whether it's building a pipeline, building roads, bridges. They go to these different groups, and they'll go to the Corps of Engineers and file lawsuits. Then they'll go and use the Endangered Species Act. They'll go to the Department of Interior. They game the system by going to federal agencies to crush American energy projects. So what we do is create a one-stop shop, saying you can't game the system and go to 5 different agencies. You go to one agency, and then you put these unelected bureaucrats on a shot clock. Because if a bureaucrat goes to you and says, hey, well, you need to give us an answer, they don't say give us an answer when you get around to it. They'll say give us an answer in 30 days. And God help you if you don't get that answer to them in 30 days. Yet sometimes you will have a project sitting, a permit application, for example, sitting on a bureaucrat's desk for months at a time. Right. And they don't, why shouldn't they have the same kind of shot clock that you have? If they tell you to get them an answer in 30 days, shouldn't they then have to get you an answer in 30 days so that you can at least know which way you're going to go forward? You need to get more information to them. But let's not use the regulatory process to kill American energy projects. At the same time, Biden's flying Air Force One to Saudi and OPEC countries, begging them to produce energy that we can be making here a lot cleaner.
Yeah, true. I love the shot clock metaphor. I think it's exactly right. Another point that came up today, and in this bill, so production of fossil fuels will produce more fertilizer. More fertilizer will help farms and will lower food prices. Food prices are astronomical still. Grocery prices, oil and energy prices have come down a bit. Food prices have not. This is key to lower food.
Absolutely. And one of the things we've seen, President Biden's hallmark of his presidency is higher inflation, higher costs for everything. It's not a good thing to be known for, by the way, but he's deliberately taken steps to do it. His attack, I would argue, on American energy is probably the leading cause of higher inflation. But it's not just gasoline at the pump. And I know Sam Graves made this point at our meeting that we had at America First Policy Institute. We had Kathy McMorris-Rogers of the Energy and Commerce Committee, as well as Bruce Westerman in Natural Resources Committee. They all put parts of this bill together that we're bringing to the floor Thursday. But one of the things he talked about is that when you have higher natural gas prices, especially because Biden's crushed American natural gas production, that is a key ingredient in fertilizer. And so if you're wondering why your food at the grocery store is more expensive, fertilizer is up dramatically because Biden has attacked natural gas. That's a key component for fertilizer. So not only does it lower your energy costs, if you pass H.R. 1, it will also lower your food costs because you're going to be able to transport things cheaper. You're going to be able to get fertilizer so farmers can get food to market at a lower cost. Has a lot of great benefits, not just here in America, but by the way, our friends all around the world will benefit from this too, because they don't need to be getting their energy from Putin or anybody else. They'd love to get it from America. Let's help our friends, but let's start here at home by lowering costs for hardworking families who are struggling.
And, correct me if I'm wrong, this bill would actually help renewables. You all aren't against renewables. This bill would help renewables, something to do with minerals and mining and maybe up in Minnesota, the Iron Range. Tell us about that part.
Yeah, and Larry, we've been talking about being an all-of-the-above party for a long time, and that means everything. You know, it seems like Democrats are for everything above and nothing below. They don't want to get anything out of the ground. They think you can get all your energy from wind and solar. The problem is, you know, and most of the 90% of all the solar panels come from China, and they use coal power. So every week, China's building a new coal plant to make solar panels that they ship to America. Why don't we make things here? One of the reasons you can't make things here is because Biden has also put out a full assault on mining in America. So that means if you're trying to make computer chips or car batteries, you can't make those here in America. You got to get the products from China. Why do we want to have to get our mining critical minerals from China? So Pete Stauber had this part of that bill.
The Interior Secretary, Deb Haaland, acknowledged that under pressure today in questioning and hearing, but she finally acknowledged we are helping China. This bill would stop that.
Let's reduce our dependence on China, on Russia, on all these foreign adversaries. Let's make more things in America. That's what the Lower Energy Costs Act is all about.
And you produce more LNG. You know, you could sell LNG. This is Rick Perry's thought. Sell LNG to China and India. We would do more for reduced global warming than we would do by all this war on fossil fuels. So you're going to vote on it Thursday?
Yeah, the vote's going to be Thursday morning on the House floor. Call your member of Congress right now if you want to get a strong vote. Ask your member of Congress where they are on the Lower Energy Costs Act. It's going to be voted on Thursday. And by the way, call your senator, too, because Chuck Schumer's out there saying this is dead on arrival because he wants our country to stay dependent on foreign countries for our energy. It's why Biden initially put out a veto threat. But I'll tell you this, Larry. President Biden came out against our bill to get D.C. crime under control. When we said it's about time to start putting criminals in jail again, violent, hardened criminals, Biden initially said no. We came out of the House with a strong vote. It went to the Senate and ultimately got to his desk, and he realized you can't veto that bill. He signed it. It's now law of the land.
We'll get Democrats on this bill in the House.
We're going to get some Democrats in the House. I don't know how many, but we're going to get a few. Again, call your member of Congress right now. This is going to be a vote that we're taking on the House floor Thursday.
Last word, if I may, just a quick response. Kevin McCarthy, Speaker McCarthy, sending this. I think it was a very nice, compromising letter to Joe Biden. Why won't Joe Biden go on a second date? He doesn't want to go to a drive-in movie. They don't want to have a cup of coffee together.
Yeah,
but McCarthy's
flowers, but you know.
Yeah, McCarthy's putting the heat on, as he must, talking about the need for economic growth. What you think?
Yeah, look, Larry, as it relates to the debt ceiling, and that's what Speaker McCarthy's letter this morning was about, Joe Biden's trying to run out the clock. And if you look, there's going to come a day in late May, early June, where Janet Yellen says, okay, there's no more extraordinary measures. We've maxed out the nation's credit card because Biden spent trillions of dollars the last few years. So we maxed out the credit card. We're not going to give him another credit card to go max out again. As we're talking about paying off the balance of the card, or not even the balance, just the minimum payment, President Biden said, give me another credit card. We said, how about we talk about getting control over spending? So Speaker McCarthy laid out some very reasonable things. You touched on it earlier, just basic work requirements. And again, this isn't a new idea. This is something Bill Clinton did with a Republican Congress. And Joe Biden, when he was a U.S. Senator, voted for it. If we go back to just saying, right now we got 5 to 10 million people that the government's paying not to work at a time when everybody's looking for workers. This is costing us a lot of money. Over $140 billion you'd save just by getting work requirements back in place. And oh, by the way, you would strengthen Social Security because those folks that are sitting at home, that you and I and the single mom working 2 jobs right now, she's paying for that guy to sit at home. If he's out working, he's paying into Social Security, shoring it up. So you'd strengthen Social Security, you'd grow our economy, and you'd help get control over debt. That's just one good idea of many. It's about time that President Biden engage and have this negotiation.
That is a phenomenal idea, the whole business about work requirements. I was delighted to see that Mr. McCarthy put it in this bill. We'll see if Biden responds. The clock is, you know, you get a deal. In all seriousness, we've done this before. There's nothing novel or radical about combining a debt ceiling increase with some spending reduction.
It's the responsible thing to do.
Some spending.
And by the way, families have this conversation. If they're maxing out their credit card, they're not saying go to the bank and get another credit card and go max that out. They're saying, how do we get control over spending while we're paying off the minimum at a minimum?
The stock market would love it.
The stock market would love it.
Markets would
families
love
would love it because that would get control over inflation too, by the way.
Yes, of course.
Inflation's crushing families. It's why you had a bank collapse. Let's get this economy back under control. Joe Biden needs to get back to work, reach out to the speaker and say, let's go get this deal done.
All right, terrific stuff. House Majority Leader Steve Scalise, thank you ever so much. Good luck on H.R. 1.
Thanks. Great being back with you.